So guys, what's going on? I hope you guys are well. So guys, you've probably heard about the Canelo news. Eddie Hearn's come out and said that the chances of Canelo and Plant, or the fight is dead. Several reports suggesting the fight is dead and that the likely opponent of Canelo Alvarez is going to be Dimtry Bivol. Now, a lot of people, I've tried to see where the reports have come from. Now, Eddie Hearn has mentioned that the Dimtry Bivol, that he's mentioned that to Canelo. The Plant fight is still one that's, I don't quote me on this. I still get a feeling the Plant fight may happen, but I won't be surprised if it is Bivol, but I wouldn't be surprised if the Plant fight still happens, because I think they're probably trying to negotiate that fight and get that deal over the line. But I think they've got Dimtry Bivol probably a fight which I think they've got as a second option, that if this Plant fight can't get over the line and it is dead, like reports are suggesting, that Dimtry Bivol is going to be the guy that Canelo Alvarez faces. It's a great fight. Dimtry Bivol is a great fight, and actually most people, there was a vote, I think, can't remember, was it Michael Benson that did it, and most people were asked, who do you think's a tougher fight? What do you think's a more credible fight? And most people, I think 90% of people voted for Dimtry Bivol. So obviously the fight is viewed as more competitive. I don't think many people give Caleb Plant much of a chance against Canelo Alvarez. And Bivol is seen as a more credible, more dangerous fight for him, and seen as a guy, obviously he's a naturally bigger man. He fights at 175. I don't think Bivol is a big 175. Canelo would be moving up to 175 most likely for that fight. I don't think it makes sense for Canelo not to go up to 175 and fight him, because it'd be a chance for another world title for him, to win another world title against a legitimate. I know people say Kovalev was washed. Bivol's not washed. He's in his prime. So that would be a serious win and a serious fight for Canelo Alvarez, and a fight that I believe he wins. I know I've had Ray who thinks that Bivol, I just don't see Bivol being able to put a dent in Canelo. I think he's slick, yeah, he's got a good jab, but that ain't beating Canelo Alvarez. Just a jab, Canelo will walk you down. If you can't hurt him, you can't push him back, you're not beating him, full stop. I just don't see it. Kovalev was able to jab, yes, but Kovalev wasn't able to beat him because of the fact that he wasn't able to keep Canelo off, and that pressure eventually got Canelo through the fight. And I think that the same thing would happen to Bivol. And I actually think Bivol's not as big as Kovalev. I think Kovalev couldn't make 168. Bivol can make 168. So I think he's not even that big. He's bigger than Canelo, yes, but everybody at 168 is bigger than Canelo. 175 are bigger than Canelo. I just think Canelo is a beast. And I just don't see Bivol being able to outbox him and keep him off. I just don't think Bivol's got the power to keep Canelo off. And I think Canelo's going to walk him down and put a serious beating on him, to be honest. I don't see it. I think the only guy at 175 that gives him a hard fight is Beterbiev. And so I don't mind Canelo fighting Bivol or Plant, to be honest. I think Bivol's the better fights. People seem to think that Bivol's going to be dangerous, and he's going to be a fight where Canelo could potentially lose. I don't see it that way. I think Bivol would give Canelo a few troubles, but I think it's one that Canelo overcomes and wins quite emphatically, actually. I don't think Bivol is big and strong enough to keep Canelo off. And I think, as I've said to you before, I don't think a good boxer beats Canelo now, because Canelo's a very good boxer himself. Canelo's a great pressure fighter. He can box in the center of the ring. I don't believe he will do that with Bivol. I believe he'll pressure Bivol and push Bivol on the back foot. I saw Richards get to Bivol in that fight. Bivol won quite comfortably, but he was fighting Craig Richards. Canelo Alvarez is a different story altogether. Canelo, for me, is a bigger puncher. He's the better boxer. He can fight you on the inside. He can hit you with hard body shots. You know, his body shots are some of the most ruthless body shots in the game right now. He's got too much variety. Canelo can do too many things. I feel like Bivol can beat him in one way. I think Canelo can beat him by outboxing him. I think Canelo can beat him by becoming a pressure. I think Canelo can beat you in so many ways. With Beterbiev, I think Canelo would have to fight very, very smart in that fight, and that's a very tough fight, because I think Beterbiev has a Golovkin style, but he's bigger, stronger. Maybe not got the chin of Golovkin, but he's bigger and stronger, way bigger and stronger than Canelo. And that's a problem because I think Beterbiev's the kind of fighter that can push Canelo on the back foot, wear him down. Beterbiev's a problem. Honestly, Beterbiev's a serious problem for Canelo. That's a 50-50 fight. And I'm one of Canelo's biggest fans, but I have to accept that's a 50-50 fight. That's a fight where Canelo could lose. Bivol, I don't see it like that. I don't see Bivol being a fighter that I think Canelo would lose. I just don't see it. I know some people seem to think it is, and they seem to think that if Mike mentioned this, that if Canelo fights the 3Bs, Bivol, Benavidez, and Beterbiev, I don't see him coming out undefeated or unskittled or with a winner. I don't see him beating all three of them. That's what Mike said. That's a possibility. That's a possibility because all three guys, I think he beats Benavidez and I think he beats Bivol. I actually think Beterbiev is the guy. If you ask me to pick out of him and Beterbiev, I'll pick Canelo. But I think Beterbiev could easily beat Canelo Alvarez. I do. I think Beterbiev has got a style which is horrible. And I think Beterbiev is the kind of style that causes Canelo problem in the Canelo of today. I don't think those slick boxers, I don't think they can beat Canelo. I don't. I know Christian was saying, I don't think that style gives him any problem anymore. I think Canelo's too good now. He's too complete a fighter. His head movement, his defense is so good as well. So those slick fighters, he's going to make them miss. And Canelo's an unusual fighter because Canelo, normally when you see with somebody with Canelo's skill set and somebody with Canelo's body structure, normally they're the strong bully type fighters that come forward and look to bash you up. But Canelo's a very slick boxer. Canelo's a guy with very good head movement. You don't really see that from guys like with Canelo's structure and the way Christian says he likes to, he's flat-footed and likes to plant his feet. Yes, but he's also very slick. He's also got great head movement. He's very hard to hit. You don't really get that somebody with Canelo's body structure. Normally, they're not that hard to hit. They're very easy to hit. Canelo's very hard to hit. It's clean. You know, Billy Joe's a very slick fighter. He struggled to land punches on Canelo. Canelo made Billy Joe miss many times in that fight. And even Daniel Jacobs, even Golovkin was made to miss. Canelo Alvarez has got unbelievable head movement. His boxing skills are second to none. And with the punching power and the pressure fighting ability, the way he cuts off the ring with his feet, I just think Canelo Alvarez is a complete fighter. I think he's so versatile. I think he beats Benavidez and Bivol quite handily. I think Beterbiev though, that's a tough one. That's a tough fight. That's why I would rather see that fight. But the thing is, the Beterbiev fight is not realistic because he's with ESPN. The Bivol fight, I think because of the time frame and the fact that they haven't got enough time to negotiate and go back and forth, because remember, Beterbiev's on a different platform. If the Plant fight does fall through, which it looks like it, I think they'd want someone that they can get in quickly. And Bivol, because he's on with DAZN, I think that fight would be made like that. And that's why I think that's a more realistic fight than the Beterbiev fight, because I don't think Canelo, if he wants to fight in September, has got enough time now to be able to negotiate with Beterbiev and ESPN. I don't think he's got enough time because he wants to fight in September. So the Bivol fight is realistic because I think that deal can probably get done in a couple of days, whereas the Beterbiev deal might take longer. I think they're probably going to give it till the end of this week and the latest at the beginning of next week to get that deal finalized. And I think if it's not finalized by end of this week, beginning of next week, I think he's going to move. I think he's going to fight Bivol. But I do think although the reports are saying the Plant fight is dead completely, I'm still optimistic that fight happens because I think Canelo really wants that fight. And I like to think Fox and Al Heyman and Caleb Plant and his team would look to get that deal over the line because it's a massive opportunity for Caleb Plant and it's great business for Fox as well to get the biggest star on their platform. It'll also give some of their fighters that they can put on the undercard great exposure because it's a Canelo card. And Canelo, there'll be a lot of people that buy that. So there's an opportunity for them to give some of their fighters exposure on a huge show. So I think there's a lot to gain for PBC. I don't know whether it's a financial thing. I don't know whether it's some of the stuff that Caleb Plant was saying. We haven't really heard Canelo come out and give his side of the story yet. So it's a bit of a one-sided story right now. So hopefully Canelo and his team come out and give their side of the story. But I don't mind like I said to you yesterday, if Canelo doesn't fight Caleb Plant, Canelo's going to fight a credible fighter. He's probably going to fight somebody that's seen as more credible than Plant. If Caleb Plant don't fight Canelo, I'm going to be interested to see who Caleb Plant fights. Because if it's not Benavidez or Charlo or someone of that nature, then really Caleb Plant's going to come under criticism, right? Because Canelo Alvarez is fighting a light heavyweight champion, whereas Caleb Plant's going to be fighting somebody that's not world level. He needs to step up. It needs to be Benavidez. And this is why I think it just makes logical sense for Caleb Plant to fight Canelo. It doesn't make any sense for him to fight anybody else. But if he fights Benavidez, he could lose that fight. And then that payday with Canelo's gone down the drain. So it makes sense for Caleb Plant to fight Canelo. It makes sense. It's quite clear that the fight with Canelo Alvarez is the fight to make for Caleb Plant, because Caleb Plant's going to get the biggest payday of his career. I'm pretty certain that Caleb Plant wants this fight badly, because he financially, like, no fighter is afraid of doing what they're good at, because Caleb Plant's a good boxer. He's not afraid to get in there with Canelo. Why would he be afraid to get in there with Canelo? You know, he's going to make 10 million plus to do something that he's good at, fighting the best pound for pound fighter in the world. Imagine if he beats him, the legacy that Plant would create. It's a no-brainer. Plant has nothing to lose. Nobody really expects him to beat Canelo. Nobody's saying that Plant's going to go in there and beat Canelo. So Plant has nothing to lose. He has everything to gain. The one that has everything to lose is Canelo. So it doesn't make sense to me that White Plant and his team would allow this opportunity to go through. I think that's more, here's the thing. That's more PBC's side, because I think if just say Canelo gets COVID, for example, or Caleb Plant gets COVID, right? Canelo wants the same guarantee against somebody that might not be a top tier. And I think that could be a bit of a stumbling block. I can see why. Because obviously from a business point of view, it doesn't make sense for Fox, for them to put anybody in with Canelo and pay him 40 million. Do you see where I'm coming from? A Plant fight is an undisputed fight, so I can understand why they would be willing to pay huge money. But if for example, someone pulls out, someone gets injured or COVID or whatever, that becomes a problem for PBC. So I can understand from their point of view that why they wouldn't be comfortable with that. But at the end of the day, Canelo is the A side. Canelo's the one calling the shots. And this is the problem, is the fact that Canelo's the A side, but he's the one that's receiving the offer, because PBC are the one that's sending him the offer. So although they're giving him his biggest payday, the fact is that this is what I said to you guys the other day, that there's a lot of nitty-gritties in a contract which can derail a fight. And that's obviously one that's derailing a fight. Maybe not so much for Plant, but for PBC. So hopefully they can get over the line. But I also said I didn't think that was enough for the fight not to happen. But again, the problem is they're running out of time. They're running out of time, so they need to get that solved very quickly if that fight is to be made, because Canelo wants to move on. He wants to fight in September. Eddie Hearn's already said if the Caleb Plant fight could still happen, but it won't be on September the 18th because there's not enough time. And if Canelo really wants to fight on September the 18th, then the Caleb Plant fight is dead. But maybe Canelo might be willing to push the September date back because he really desperately wants the Caleb Plant fight. Because let's be honest, September 18th, we're at the end of July. So there's 4 weeks. There's 6 weeks, really. 7 weeks. That's not really ideal preparation. And someone mentioned this for me. That's not really ideal preparation for somebody, because they don't know. You normally, promotion and the fighter getting prepared, it's not ideal. So hopefully the fight gets announced soon, you know. But I do think Caleb Plant might want more time. He might say, okay, I'll fight you, but let's do it in October, because I want more time and I want to be prepared. And right now, although he's probably preparing in the gym for Canelo, the fact of the matter is the fight's not done. So let's see. Let's hope this fight happens. Either way, I think if Canelo doesn't fight Caleb Plant, I think the fight that he does fight, I think will be credible, and I think he'll be against a top-tier opponent anyway. So I think from Canelo's side, I know we're guaranteed he's going to fight somebody really good. Caleb Plant, I'm going to be interested to see if he doesn't fight Canelo, who he will fight, or whether he fights someone else like Caleb Truax. and then fight Canelo after. Who knows? Let's see. Time will tell. But yeah, I'm really looking forward to what happens. But Eddie Hearn says the Caleb Plant fight with Canelo is dead, and he feels that Bivol is a great chance. He actually didn't say it's dead. Let me rephrase that. He said that the fight is probably dead. The fight could still happen at a later date, but Dimtry Bivol is a fighter that they're looking at very closely. So leave your thoughts, guys. Let me know what you think in the comment section below. And guys, remember to please like, share, subscribe to my channel. I'll see you guys in the next video. Peace.